When I'm afraid, my brain can come up with 100 different ways things will go terribly, terribly wrong. And you might be the same. Before you know it, you're in this vicious cycle of imagining every possible worst case scenario. And before you know it, your chest feels tight, you've got knots in your stomach, and pretty much everything feels awful. Trust me, I know what that's like. It's still something I face almost every week. But today I want to share with you 5 steps that will help you overcome your fears, have fewer regrets, and take action on your goals in life. Hey y'all, if you're new to the channel, I'm Eric. I'm a product manager living in California, and on this channel we talk about career, personal finance, and how to lead a more fulfilling life, or at least try our best. If that sounds interesting, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more videos and content. Before we jump into how to overcome your fears, I wanted to let you know that I've hidden one quote from Uncle Iroh in this video. He's super wise and he'll be helping us overcome our fears today. If you think you know what that quote is, please comment below and would love to see if you got it. So the first step in overcoming your fears is to define them. What you want to do here is really let yourself go, and for every one of those fears and worries you have about what might go wrong, what could happen, write that down, one worry or fear per row, and just let yourself go at it. And so an example situation this might apply to is, maybe say you're thinking about asking for a raise at work. And so some of your fears that you might define are, what if your manager says no? What if they ask you a question and you're not sure how to answer it, or they push back and you feel awkward and you just don't know what to say? That list can go on and on, but those are just a couple. And the reason defining your fears is the first step, and the reason why this works is that it helps you to pin your fear down and translate them from these scary thoughts that are just running around in your head all day. You put them on paper, you shine a light on them, you pin them down, and in some of these next steps, you can start tackling them in a more productive way. So step 1, define your fears, list down every single one of those, and get started. So the second step in overcoming your fears is to figure out how you can prevent each of your fears from coming to pass. So the tip I want to share here is that you want to remember that you are not just on your own. It's not just about what you can do, but remember that you have friends, family, supporters, mentors who can help you in this situation. And so if we go back to that asking for a raise example, maybe your fear was that your boss was going to say no. And so the way you might prevent that from coming to pass is that you're going to do your research and come ready with a strong story and quantified examples of the impact and value you've driven for the company in the last 6 to 12 months. Another fear you might have had is, what if you ask for the wrong amount and you're not sure what number to ask for? And so the way you might prevent that is by doing your research on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, PayScale, and some of those sites to figure out what exactly the market is paying for someone with your skill set and years of experience. And so go down that list of fears and one by one figure out what you or your friends or family can do to prevent that fear from coming to pass. And the reason this works is that it reminds you that you are in the driver's seat. There are things that you can do to shape the future that is going to come, and it's not just that you're on the receiving end of what life has of what life will happen. So step number 2, figure out how you will prevent your fears from coming to pass. Now, step number 3 and how to overcome your fears is to figure out how you're going to mitigate the fear if it does come to pass, and how you're going to accept it. There are times, definitely in all of our lives, where some things will happen that you don't have control over, and you may fail. Failure, though, is only the opportunity to begin again, only this time more wisely. And if we go back to that asking for a raise example, what this looks like in step 3 is that you want to think about what you will say if your manager says yes no or maybe in each of those situations, so you know how you're going to handle it. And you'll know, what you'll do if the answer is a definitive no. So you are prepared for that situation, along with the yes, outcome that you are hoping for. And the reason this works is that, it reminds you that there are going to be those times where you aren't completely in control, but when you think about what you'll do when things go south, you'll feel more prepared, more confident to handle that situation if it does come to pass. So before we continue on to the last two, I want to recap. So step 1 was to define your fears. Step 2 is to figure out how you're going to prevent them. And step 3 is to figure out how you're going to mitigate and accept the situation if your fear does come to pass. Now, in these last two questions, these are really important, especially if you're thinking, if your fears or worries are about, trying something new or something where you might fail. So let's jump in. Step number 4 in overcoming your fears is to ask yourself, what are the benefits of just trying and of getting, a partial success in whatever you're thinking about. Now, if we again return to the example of asking for a raise, in that case, if you try and maybe you're asking for a 5K raise or 5% raise and you don't get all the way there, what are the benefits of just trying and making that ask? Well, in that case, you would have gotten the practice of making that request, and you'll feel that'll give you some confidence for what you do next time. You'll have done the research of preparing, how you're going to ask, the package. You would have packaged up the value that you delivered to the company or to the team, and no matter what in that situation, you would have known that you did what you could, and that was better than if you had just stayed silent and just received what would have come either way. And so the reason this step is important and why this works is that when we are worried or afraid, we think the future is going to be all good or all bad. It'll either be a grand slam or just awful, but in reality, most of these situations are going to land somewhere in the middle, and this really reminds you that that can still be really, really valuable. That practice, just even attempting to take those steps, can be really, really positive. Step number 5 in overcoming your fears is maybe my favorite step, and that is to ask yourself, what does inaction and letting your fears win cost you in 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years' time? Now, the tip for this step is that you really, when you ask yourself this question, want to close your eyes and imagine and feel it and paint a picture of what you stand to lose if you do nothing and let your fears win out, and what you stand to gain if you do act. And in the raise example, there is just a huge difference between if you ask for a raise and advocate for yourself every single year over the next 10 years versus if you don't. Over that time frame, it could cost you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, not to mention the regret or wondering what might have been if you had advocated for yourself. And so the reason this works is that it really paints a picture of what you stand to lose out on if you do nothing and don't let your fears win, but also what you can gain if you do summon the courage and willpower to act and move forward. Fear and anxiety will always be a part of life, but it doesn't mean fears have to control you. The next time you're feeling worried or afraid, remember the 5 steps to overcoming your fears. Number 1, define your fears. Number 2, prevent them. Number 3, mitigate and accept your fears if they do come to pass. Number 4, consider the benefits of an attempt or a partial success. And number 5, consider what the cost of inaction is over 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years. Remember, time will march forward regardless of what any of us does. Before you know it, it'll be 1, 2, or 5 years down the road. And the question you need to ask yourself is, Would you prefer to get to that day and look back knowing that you took action and overcame your fears, or that not much changed and you let fear get the better of you? I know which one I prefer. Do you? That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks, everyone.